You're listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. Now back to the show with your host, Lisa.
Hey there, Lisa Lightner from Don't IEP Alone. Simple little podcast about IEPs. I will try to be shorter today than I was last time. October is a lot of big months. It is ADHD Awareness Month, dyslexia, Down syndrome, and a few others. So, wanted to talk a little bit today and highlight some of the resources that I have because it's too much to even fit into one episode. Like, you could literally have an entire podcast series on executive functioning, which tends to go hand in hand with ADHD and dyslexia at times, is executive functioning challenges. One of my favorite resources on executive functioning is Tara Sumter, and that's Tera. Her site or her business is called Seeds of Learning. She's an SLP who specializes in executive functioning, and she's just really it's just kind of that next level executive functioning information and assistance. She also endorsed my book, which I am so proud of and so happy that she did that. You can see her quote. I think her quote made it on the back cover. Did it? Yes, it did. So her quote is on the back cover of my book, Your IEP Playbook, available wherever books are sold. But executive functioning it's a lot of different things. Of course, it's the ability to stay organized. It's self-awareness. It's self-monitoring. It's being able to handle transitions from one task to another. It's self-regulation. It's all these kind of invisible skills that when you have executive functioning skills, they're pretty invisible and we take them for granted. But when a child or an adult does not have executive functioning skills, it's really apparent. I have a very good friend whose husband was not diagnosed until very late in life with significant ADHD. And he would get a job and it was just like clockwork. He would get fired every 18 to 24 months because he would get fired from a job. He would look good on paper, get rehired, but his executive functioning skills were so poor that, he would forget to do things. There would be checklists, there would be tasks that he didn't complete. And then that was that. And he, would lose a job because of his lack of executive functioning skills. These skills are really just essential for us to get through in day-to-day life. And it puts an incredible amount of strain on your brain when you're trying to compensate for a lack of executive functioning skills. Particularly if this lack of executive functioning skills is paired with other skill deficiencies. It can really work in where if you forget to do something because your working memory isn't working and you just can't stay organized, and then if you have another mental health condition that causes you to be very hard on yourself, like, oh, I'm a failure, I'm stupid, I'm never going to do this, I'm dumb. It can just kind of snowball. Most IEPs that I see and most 504 plans that I see for executive functioning skills, they're accommodations and there's no teaching. And then even the accommodations at times are not... They're just bad, I guess. I don't know why I'm trying to think of a creative word. They're just bad because it'll be things like if a kid is struggling to stay organized, the accommodation will be, well, we're going to give him a checklist, and he has to check in with the teacher every morning when he first gets there and every afternoon before he leaves. And then it's like, well, now you've just given a kid who can't remember things and can't organize things, you've given him 3 more things to do. And that is to be responsible for a checklist and to remember to check in morning and afternoon. So a kid who already struggles with this type of task, you've just given him 3 more to do, right? Like, oh, well, we're going to give them a binder, a planner, and like, well, then they just lose it. Like the trick to getting someone who forgets to do things, like giving them a checklist or a binder to maintain, like you've just given them 1 more thing to keep track of, and they've already told you they can't keep track of. They've already demonstrated they can't keep track of things, and that's the kind of stuff I see. And that's why I really like Tara's stuff. Definitely check her out. Because she gets to that foundational piece, that if you don't have these foundational pieces, you can't just browbeat people into, don't forget your checklist, don't forget your homework. It just doesn't work that way. You can't reward and punish executive functioning skills into a child. That's not how it works. That said, I do have many, many resources on my site. I will share them in the show notes about executive functioning, some strategies, some IEP goals, some meaningful IEP accommodations, and I am working on some new IEP data collection sheets just for some executive functioning skills. That was by request from several teachers in the group, so that we're working on, and we hope to have those live in a couple of weeks. As far as evaluating for executive functioning skills or lack thereof, that's another resource that Tara has recently developed in the past year or two. I know the most common go-to one is the brief, which I forget what the B and the R stand for. It's something like inventory of executive functioning, something like that. But it's not, that's just kind of like an outdated assessment. Like 20 years ago, it was like, okay, cool, like we finally have something. Now, the more we know about these kinds of things, the more flaws we see in some of the existing assessments, systems, and so on. So some of the newer people in the field and those with the more progressive thinking on executive functioning are saying, yeah, no, the brief isn't that great. So you may want to, just check it out. Again, she's Tara, Tera, at Seeds of Learning. And if you have a kiddo at home who struggles with this, I know how frustrating it can be. I know how it can try your patience. Why can't they just remember this? Because they can't. And that's the key there. Remember, it's can't, not won't. So it's direct instruction is required in the moment. So it's just going to have to be kind of changing the way you approach your child every day and the conversations that you have with them. And so instead of like, hey, did you bring your backpack home? No, I forgot. No, I forgot my lunchbox, my water bottle, blah, blah, blah. So instead of that, like, where's your water bottle? And, oh, you lost it and now I'm mad at you and all that. It's about having these, conversations as to what do you think would help you remember it? Or is there something, using their input as much as possible. And again, that real teaching in the moment. Like, hey, if we put this little thing on your backpack, when you look at it, can you remember that you have to go get your water bottle or your lunchbox or whatever it is, or your homework? And putting things in place to enable them to develop that kind of self-awareness piece. Even having kids do some self-reflection, in the morning before you go to school, after dinner, taking 3 to 5 minutes in the car, on the car ride home, wherever it is. And I know busy, I know what households are like in the morning. I get it. I have to tube feed a kid and all that other stuff myself. But just taking 2 or 3 minutes to reflect on what you did yesterday. What are you going to do today? What do you hope will happen today? And it's just, self-awareness is kind of that first piece of it. And planning and reflecting. Because if you can't plan in your mind, which a lot of kids can't, they're going to have to be walked through it. So I know the example I've given on my Facebook page many times is when you tell your kid to clean their room and you come back and like nothing's been done and the room's not clean. A kid who struggles with executive functioning can't do that. It's not that they're being defiant. It's that they don't even know where to begin. And for many kids, they may not even be able to visualize what a clean room looks like. And I know that's a surprise to many parents, because if you can visualize in your mind what your clean bedroom looks like, you're like, what do you mean they can't visualize it? And I'm telling you, some kids cannot visualize a clean room. So they don't know the goal. So they don't know how to get started. And to look at a messy room with clothes everywhere, food everywhere, whatever, is just such an overwhelming task that they don't know where to begin. So things like that have to be chunked down. Can you see your dirty clothes on the floor? Do you see the dirty clothes on the floor? Yes. Okay, let's pick those up and put those all in the basket. One task at a time. And when the room is clean, take a picture of it so that they know what a clean room looks like. And that might sound like overkill, that might sound like coddling, but I'm here to tell you, I've heard from many, many adults who tell me that they cannot visualize in their brain. And when they tell people that, people don't believe them. But it is a skill that some people lack. So anyway, make yourself more aware of executive functioning. Since it's ADHD month, that seems to be one of their biggest challenges. Lots of resources on my site. I will put some in the show notes. If you haven't gotten your IEP playbook, please look for it wherever books are sold, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. We're so glad you've joined us and would love to connect with you outside of the show. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. From self-care tips to common IEP mistakes, there's even more to explore. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast and subscribe to never miss an episode. Until next time, don't IEP alone, and you don't have to.